Guys, yesterday during our show, Joel Bitonio had his farewell press conference, and he said something during that goodbye that I thought was worth discussing. He was asked about possibly playing for another team. If he ever considered not being a member of the Cleveland Browns, especially in this little in-between period where he did not resign, was a free agent before he retired. And Bitonio had this to say, quote, I was kind of in, year 7, 8, 9 in my career, and by that point, you're so committed. You put it in so much work here. I was ready to see it through, and I was ready to see the ultimate goal was to win a Super Bowl, and that was my goal here. But once you get through it for me, I can never just picture myself in a different uniform. The question I had for you guys, not every player is allowed to make this decision themselves. Most times it's taken out of their control. But we saw Joe Thomas, lifelong Brown. We saw Joel Bitonio, lifelong Brown, possibly have opportunities to go elsewhere and decided they wanted to stick it out in Cleveland. Bull, if you were a professional athlete that had the choice to either play their entire career in one spot, success, not success, in terms of win-loss, postseason success, or go to a winning franchise later in your career, do you think you would have had the same mindset that Joel Bitonio and Joe Thomas did?
I will start by saying, for Jason and I, it's a much harder question to answer because Dustin played, and so he had the actual experience. So I got to speak to what I think I would do in that scenario. I think in a perfect scenario, I would want to stay with the whole team in my career, but I definitely would not be opposed to, if the situation weren't perfect, to switching teams. I think, I consider myself a pretty loyal person. I'm very loyal to my friends, to my family. And so if I were the caliber of player that was a professional athlete, I on some level, I wouldn't really have a sense of loyalty necessarily to the owner or the franchise. I think I would more to the fans and to my teammates is how I think I would feel. And so if the situation were good, I think I would stay there. But I think if I were in a bad franchise, I know that I love winning. I mean, you saw my reaction to that stupid game we played. I love to win. I want to win. So if I were on a franchise that sucked forever and I felt like there was no chance to win, I think I would at some point want to go somewhere else. But because I didn't play at that level, I can't say for sure.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think that there is a certain sense of you want to win, you want to compete, but you also want to be loyal. But your loyalty is not to the ownership group.
Right, I wouldn't think.
It's to your teammates.
Right.
It's to your coaches, which he should have no loyalty to his coaches. He had 1 million since he was in Cleveland.
Yeah.
His teammates, he's had 1 million since he's been in Cleveland.
Right.
It's not like he's
and
got
probably
a bunch
all his close friends are not here anymore.
They're not playing here anymore. Yeah. So the loyalty, I guess, for him would be to the city and to the fans,
right?
More so than the organization and ownership, which is great, and I'm sure the fans love to hear that.
Yeah.
But I'm a little surprised that he didn't want to go somewhere else to at least try to taste winning. I mean, he played college ball at Nevada.
Yeah.
Didn't win.
Right.
If this guy came from like Alabama where he won a couple natties or something, or Ohio State or whatever, maybe a different story, and you can understand. But the guy's never really won. I feel bad.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him. I really do.
Yeah, especially if he had gone and signed with the Steelers or the Ravens or the Bengals, I could understand maybe fans feeling a little something there. But if he had gone and signed with Seattle, there wouldn't be a single fan that would begrudge him at all. Right. Not that it has to matter to him, but I don't think anybody would have blamed Joel Bitonio for signing with a contender this year. But kudos to him for not wanting to do that.
And
but
the other thing is the guy played 12 years in one city.
Yeah.
He started his career here with 0 children. He's got 3 children now.
Yeah.
Married, family, house. That stuff matters more than probably the other stuff.
Yeah.
If that guy was a single dude, at 35, he'd be in LA tomorrow.
Right.
That's the point I was going to make. It's hard to answer that question without knowing what city and what franchise you're talking about.
Where does he live, by the way?
West Side.
No, but he probably has another house somewhere else, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What state? I'm asking.
Who knows? Is he from Nevada?
I think he's California.
Yeah.
So I don't know where he lives.
He's a big Dodgers fan.
Okay, so I wonder if he considered, the Rams.
Yeah.
or I don't know if they were interested.
I don't know what their line situation is.
Yeah.
Also, maybe he he played with Joe, and you saw how Joe ended his career. Didn't want to go somewhere else, so maybe there was a little bit of like, hey, that's what Joe did, and he looked up to him. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I played with that I looked up to their path and how they treated certain situations.
But I think the part that gets glossed over in all this is exactly what you said last, the family component to this. If you're a young dude,
probably in school.
If you're young and you don't like the coach or you don't like, you're going to want to get out of there as soon as you can.
Right.
But for as much as people want to bang on Cleveland, it is a great place to raise a family.
Oh yeah,
it's in the suburbs.
100%.
It's great, and you get a lot of these guys. The Tellers were another one. Wyatt did not want to leave. Wyatt was begging to stay, basically. Like his wife, I know his wife can be polarizing. There's a lot of people that don't like how vocal she is on social media. They loved this community. They loved being here. And Joel is the same way, where like you put roots down. When you spend all these years here and your kids have friends, I talk about it all the time, man. When you got to pull your kids away from their friend group, Joel's kids are young, that it's not as big of a deal.
His oldest kid looks like, I don't know, maybe she's 10.
Yeah, but when you get into those, if you have kids early, if your kids are 11, 12, 13, it's so hard to rip them away from like the only life that they've known. And that's more for coaches than for players, but it happens with players too.
It's funny.
So you do want to stay with one spot.
It's funny because, I mean, like once, like a couple of years ago, my wife and I were considering moving out of Rocky River like for a minute because we were thinking about getting a bigger home.
You and I talked about it.
Staying in Cleveland?
Bull was almost my neighbor.
No, staying in Cleveland. Yeah, we were looking in Avon and Avon Lake.
I set Bull up at where we built our house. He was going to try and build a house right across the street from me.
Yeah,
imagine that neighborhood.
We were looking at it, and I was just like, in the end, he was just old enough, Aaron, that I was like, hey, he's got all his friends. I don't want to move out of the town.
Yeah.
So we didn't, but that definitely factored in.
100%.
Did you see that picture? There was one funny picture yesterday where Joel was basically like his son, who looks like he's maybe 7. I don't know how old he is. A little kid, skinny little guy. And he's like basically like holding him with 2 fingers. He's like picking him up in the air. I don't know if he's holding him by his shirt. It was just really funny because Joel's so huge. His kid, his son is like, I mean, he's young. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he'll get bigger with his genes.
Yeah, but, I think Joel probably considered leaving a little bit more than he's letting on.
Yeah.
But ultimately he chose to end it this way. And I think fans romanticize about that.
Yeah.
One team, one career, more than
it's
players
a rarity.
do. I don't think it means as much to players.
Well, most players don't get the choice.
Right.
That is correct.
Especially in the NFL.
That's correct. And again, the Tellers, they didn't get the choice. The Browns was like,
they
were done here. Yeah.
Well, you also get a chance to see, like Joel's been here 12 years,
and
he's seen how other players have been treated by the fan base. And if you do want to raise a family here and be here, you don't want to piss off the fans. There is a loyalty more to the fans than anybody else because you're like, man, God, look how they treat Joe Thomas. Look how they treat Josh Cribbs, Bernie Kosar. I mean, these guys they're great players, but never won.
Right.
But they're treated like icons in this city, and I'm sure he would love to be treated just like those guys.
Joe Flacco will be beloved here forever.
For sure.
Do you think Joel will stay in the area?
No. But I hope that we mentioned this yesterday. I hope that he's got some sort of ambassador role.
Yeah, right. And we talked about maybe him doing some media here. We talked about it on our podcast this morning.
You don't think he'll raise a family here? You think he'll leave?
No. Because they didn't. I don't believe. You know what? I don't know. I shouldn't say that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would imagine that they would head back west to California. But you never know. It'd be great if he stayed.